Hey, what's up, everybody?
Yeah.
How are y'all doing? Y'all having a good time so far at Retropalooza? Arlington, I remember this was not Houston. So doing good. What's like the coolest thing you've gotten so far? Let's see. If you want to share, raise your hand. Like the coolest thing you bought at the convention so far. What's over here? Really cheap game? Okay, here you go. I gotta look for those deals, right? That's cool. Right here?
Found the Resident Evil Outbreak Foul 2.
Oh, nice. Nice. You've been looking for that one?
Oh, yeah.
Sweet. Good price?
Oh, yeah.
Right over here?
Game Boy Advance in the box.
Oh, nice. That's good, yeah. Which was it the original Game Boy Advance?
Yeah, the purple one.
The purple one.
That's the one I had as
Nice.
a kid. I've been looking for it.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for coming. We got some more people coming in. I see back there. Can y'all hear me okay? Maybe be a little closer here. Okay, cool. Well, who amongst you is familiar with the My Retro Life show? Show of hands. Perfect, okay. A lot of you, okay. Because I do that because a lot of times there are people that kind of walk in and they're like, I don't know what this is, but I want to check it out. Well, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being viewers of the show and the channel. For those of you who didn't raise your hand, I do a show on YouTube called My Retro Life, and that's the name of the YouTube channel. And it's really a special show I get to produce because so much of what I do on YouTube is basically the story of my retro life. It's the story of all of my childhood growing up with a family that just loved video games, and really, we didn't just have a lot of video games or play a lot of video games, but we bonded over video games. It wasn't even just my cousins or my brothers. It was my dad who also was big into video games back in the, this was the late 80s, early 90s growing up. And so he was a gamer back when Atari first came out, when the Atari 2600 first came out. His sister and him, I think it must have been his sister, my Aunt Michelle, bought a Atari 2600 back, probably like the first year that it came out, like one of those first years. And I think even their parents, my grandparents, had an Intellivision. And so yeah, everybody was into gaming in my family to some extent, in some way, even in those early days. And so when the NES came out and I was a little kid, my dad just went full blown into it. He was just like, he loved how video games were evolving into what they are today. He saw the process of the storytelling really happening right before his eyes, going from little stick figures running around on the screen to these bigger characters with bigger worlds to explore. Games like Metroid and Zelda were coming out. And he knew even at an early time in gaming that it was going to evolve and become this incredible thing that we know and love today. And it's awesome for me because I grew up in that scenario with a family that loved games, but also a family that loved documenting everything. And so along with the hundreds of hours I have of home movie footage of just regular daily life in the Esposito family, there's all these hours of footage of video gaming because we were such enthusiasts and collectors even in those early days. And so that's what the show is, and I'm sure as a lot of you raised your hand that you've seen it. But that's a little summary for those of you who don't know the show. Definitely encourage you to go check it out. What I'd like to do at this panel is actually, it's Halloween time. It's really getting close to Halloween. I always try to do something Halloween related. I've been working on a video that was going to be around for Halloween. It's a Castlevania video about the game Dawn of Sorrow and what it means to me. But I'm not gonna have time to finish that video, so it's gonna come out after Halloween. But what I do have here is a short film that my dad made back in the 80s. So prior to filming all the home movie footage that you see in My Retro Life that he recorded, he was an independent filmmaker. And so he loved movies, he loved filmmaking, that was his passion. And so as an indie filmmaker in the 80s, living in New York, actually, they shot this film on 16 millimeter, I think, 16 millimeter film, and they shot it in upstate New York. He loved horror movies, and he loved Abbott and Costello, kind of like Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, very campy stuff, because he grew up in the 50s and 60s. And And so that was a big part of his childhood, was that campy horror feel. And so this movie's called Treasure of the Haunted House. I brought it with me. I thought I'd show you guys, something from that he made, a short film that was really special to him. Really special to me because growing up, I used to watch this movie as a part of my regular programming. I would just watch it and think it was great. And even to this day, I'm like, kind of, especially with the passage of time and how movies like Tron and just the gaming culture, and I don't know, sorry, I'm doing a bad job of really explaining and setting this film up, but basically it's like a combination of Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein meets Tron. So if you love Tron, video games, Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, campy horror movies and stuff like that, I think you're gonna really like this film. It's 10 minutes long. After the screening of this, I'd love to open this up for Q&A, and if any of you have questions about the show, the channel, my family, all the old home movie footage, please feel free to ask. And thank you so much for being here. This is a very special film to me. I think it's on the channel, but it was one of the first uploads I did when we came back online with the new incarnation of the channel the way it is now. This was, I don't think this really got seen by a lot of people since the channel has gotten some more subscribers and followers. So I would love to show it for you today. Actually, show of hands, who has seen this short film that Dad made back in 1983? My wife right over here. This is my wife and daughter right here. They're front row. I love that. Thank you. Thank you guys for doing it. So yeah, I'm glad nobody really here has seen this because it is kind of buried way deep down in the channel. So this is great. I'm so glad that y'all can watch this. And it's called Treasure of the Haunted House. And it stars comedian Max Alexander, a guy who actually, rest in peace, he's no longer with us, but he was a comedian. He was on Johnny Carson's show. He actually was on episodes of Full House and in various movies as a working actor and working comedian in the 80s. Not a household name, but a guy that actually, my dad prided himself on the fact that he gave Max Alexander his first film. This is the first movie he ever appeared in. So he was a working actor. Some of you might have heard of him. I know older generations, they've heard of him because they're like, oh, that guy used to be on Johnny Carson. So here we go. Let me turn it on. Pretty old school, huh? I can volume up. Oh, here we go.
That's at the top.
That's at the top, okay. Working on the volume, guys. guys. Sorry for this technical issue. We're going to see if we can make this louder for y'all. Here's that. Let's see if this works. Yeah, there you go. That's great. Yeah, it's really loud. Yeah, it's coming from the projector, but it's actually louder. Let's see. Back here a little bit. Okay, that's about as loud as we're going to go. Hopefully
All good.
hear it.
All good.
once told me a lot of this music is SpongeBob. Sound effects and music apparently came from an old Disney Halloween sounds recording on vinyl. He really claimed that this house was haunted. He said there was a lot of weird stuff that happened while they were filming it. He lived it, so he's going to try his shot again with it. All right. Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. Didn't expect to. Appreciate it, y'all, really. It's different when you screen something like that for an audience. I had it up online for a while in various incarnations, but there's so much of his heart and soul. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, no, it is very special, very, very special, because I used to watch this as a kid. So much of his life as a filmmaker, as an independent filmmaker, I just was thinking about the fact that, wow, I just screened his movie for all of y'all, and y'all, did you like it? Mm-hmm. Did you like it? Okay, awesome. Yeah, it's funny because, that film, he had so much fun making it, and he loved Abbott and Costello. He loved Hammer horror movies, like with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing and stuff like that. And especially the Universal horror movies, which they did the makeup to look just like Frankenstein and the Wolfman and the Universal. They didn't get sued, thankfully. I used to hear stories of that film. I think he said they were able to get it, because he was based out of New York, in New York City, and so they filmed that in upstate New York, and I think they were able to get the film shown maybe on HBO back in the 80s or something. I remember him telling me like it got some distribution, a little tiny bit of distribution back then, either in theaters or something. So yeah, I'm not really sure. Like as far as sometimes he makes some short films that he's able to get them to a theater in New York City to play the short film before like a movie. I remember him telling me that one of his short films played before a screening or showing of Meatballs with Bill Murray. That was a lot of fun for me watching that growing up. I loved Universal horror movie monsters because of this movie when I was a kid growing up. It was so funny, he made it. I always really enjoyed that film, and so it's fun to bring it out around Halloween and show people it. Very, very special. I guess I'll open it up for Q&A. I don't know how much more time we have to sit. We got another 30 minutes or so. We can open it up for Q&A. But anybody have questions or right here? Oh, thank you, baby. Yeah, I could hear that. Yeah.
So how old were you when your dad first showed you this film?
I was probably 4 years old when he first showed me this film, and you got to think our house had various like Universal movie monster memorabilia like in the house. We had a giant long chair pillow. It was like this really long pillow that would you'd sit on it in a rocking chair. And it was the movie poster for like I think Frankenstein meets the Wolfman or something like that. And so he had, when I was a little kid, like 3 or 4 years old, he had bought me all these like Universal horror movie monster figurines. And so, yeah, he loved Frankenstein. He was a big aficionado with all his black and white old school horror movies. It's so funny, I don't know if anybody here watches Cinemassacre and James Rolfe's material that he puts out back like around Halloween or Monster Madness and stuff, but he's gone time and time again talking about like his love of black and white horror movies from back then, Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi and stuff like that. And as I watch his material, I'm like, James, like you could have been my brother, man. Like my dad and you would have gotten, and me too, but they would have gotten along so well. Because they're both from the New York area too. But right over here.
How much was the budget
for this film? Budget, you know what? I don't know, and I don't know it. There's one person that I kept in touch with over the years that was a part of this film, named Sal De Niro, and I think he did the makeup on the creatures. And I reached out to him, and I could ask him if he was familiar with what the budget was. But yeah, I don't know what the budget was. Definitely had a budget though, for sure, because they were shooting on film, and they had, it was a big thing. They had to get that house. That house apparently used to be it was this creepy old house in upstate New York, in the middle of nowhere, and apparently it used to be orphanage or something. Like it's creepy, you know, really creepy stuff like that. Like it's, you could make based on the stories he told me about making this film, you could make a movie about the making of this movie. Like maybe I will one day. But seriously, yeah, lots of fun stories with this film that he told me over the years. Any other questions? Right here, George.
So one of the things I'm actually really liking about that you're doing on your channel more often is when you get a chance to share Switch games and whatnot with Hallie, with your daughter.
Yeah.
Are there any games that are coming out soon for the Switch or that you're really looking forward to that you want to share with her and have her play with you?
Well, okay, yeah. George is saying that some of the videos I put out on the channel are like My Retro Life, The Next Generation. And it stars my daughter up here who, you know, stand up, honey? Who all has seen her in some of the videos I put out where she got Splatoon 3 recently, and we documented that. That was a big surprise. Yeah. And so I think, in answer to your question, there are some really big games coming out soon. Pokemon Scarlet, that's one of them for sure. So yeah, we'll definitely do some more My Retro Life Next Gen videos. She's always got some game that she's looking forward to. She's a big Minecraft player, big Minecraft player, and Splatoon. Oh, she's got Pokemon cards with her. There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah. Any other questions? I think. Let's see if I saw go up. Right over here.
I have a question. So
Yeah.
I've just really been watching this for a few months, but the start of the channel and everything, like your motivation and doing that, and how it's transitioned, I've seen a little bit of that as well. Just how that all happened and what it was like when you started and all that.
Yeah, so when I first started, he asked, how has the channel evolved to what it is now compared to where it started? And when it started, it was actually a different channel completely called iRetroGamer. And George, who, I don't know, who was here for George? Yeah, George was doing the panel for me. G to the Next Level, definitely check out his channel on YouTube and Twitch. But George actually is a good friend of mine. We've known each other for years now. And he was heavily involved with iRetroGamer. We did a lot of videos together. And it was, the focus back then was more on trying to be like, more of like what you would, I guess, say like a typical retro gaming channel with reviews and talking about the old games, putting our little stamp on like, I was always inspired by guys like Joe Rediford from GameSack and Happy Console Gamer, Johnny over there. I just wanted to, you know, leave my mark on retro gaming with video. I work full-time in video production. And so I just was like, man, I love this stuff. I have such a history with it. I should do this too. And so it wasn't until I was hard up for content one day on that channel where I was producing regular kind of retro gaming videos. I say regular, but you know, just reviewing stuff. And I wanted to put something out, but I didn't have time. And I was like, well, maybe I should just put up some old home movie footage. I have all this old home movie footage. Maybe somebody will like it. And the one I always thought was really special was with me and Dad sitting on the couch doing the Genesis Power Team. Yeah. And we're going over all the old Sega Genesis games. I'm like 5 years old, and he's hosting the whole thing. He's so charismatic in that too, like, you know, like a used car salesman or something, like trying to sell my family on buying a Genesis. It was so funny. I'll put you in a Genesis. He should have said that. No, I loved that clip growing up, and so I thought, oh, maybe people will like it. People will really enjoy it. And that clip took off. It really got featured on a lot of different websites, and then even The Guardian asked for an interview. It was super cool. The Guardian had their video game side of the Guardian blog. And so that video got seen by a lot of people. A lot of people really liked it. Overwhelming response. So I was like, you know what? If people like that, wait till they see everything else. I have so much home movie footage. There's so much more where that came from. And so I eventually, I kind of took a break from YouTube for a few years. And then I came back in 2020 and relaunched the channel with a more of a focus on the old home movie footage. because I think one of the things that always hampered the channel's ability to grow was that people were kind of confused by, I would put out the My Retro Life series on iRetro Gamer. And I think people there wasn't like enough of a concentrated focus on what really was the most special aspect of it, which was the old stories and the old home movie footage. And so when I relaunched things, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna really try to just hone in on that footage and how special it was and the stories that I have. Not just be a retro gaming channel that talks about games and goes over a series and does a retrospective or top 10 lists and stuff like that, but rather let me just try to connect with people and let me tell the stories. I have so many stories that are not only captured on video by Dad, but they're living in my head, like that I remember so well. It's a well-loved and well-remembered childhood, and I love getting to do what I do with the channel, and all of you are a part of that for watching, so thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me. Thank you. Thank you for your question. Any other questions? Right back there, Brian.
What are your favorite games to play for Halloween?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
What are your favorite games to play for Halloween?
For Halloween, favorite Halloween games. I usually I dip back into the Castlevania series every Halloween. It's like my go-to. I mean, it's one of my favorite gaming series of all time. And there's so many good games in that series. It's every Halloween I'm like, okay, what Castlevania game am I going to play through this year? And this year it's actually, I picked up Dawn of Sorrow again because that one is really, really special. Has a big, really special story to tell with that. So I decided I'll play through the game again, but also capture the footage so I could do a video on it. So expect that. I was going to try to have that out for Halloween, but it's going to be probably first week of November now, the way things are going. You can expect, how many of y'all saw the Ninja Turtles video I put out where me and my cousin rewatched the old videotape that he recorded when he was a kid? Over here, you guys saw it? Okay, cool.
Skills.
I've got another one of those coming out for around Halloween that's on Shadowgate. Who remembers that game, Shadowgate, on the NES? Yeah, over here, yeah. Really cool that he recorded that. And so it's me and my cousin Manny watching. So for those of you who didn't see that video, there's an old tape that my cousin sent me where he played through and recorded his playthroughs of Ninja Turtles, Shadowgate, and DuckTales. And this tape is from 1990, but I still have it. And so what I did is I digitized it, and me and my cousin, we kind of do like it's kind of like watching a streamer, honestly. It's kind of like watching a streamer, but we're not playing the game, we're just watching the old video that he made when he was 9. And so it's really fun to do that with him. You can expect that one coming out soon, the Shadowgate episode of that, for sure. Any other questions? Right here. Worst video game I ever played? Oh, video game movie I ever watched. Okay, worst video game movie, oh man. I'll tell you what, it's House of the Dead.
Yes.
Yep, that was awful. And as a big fan of the series, it was so bad, and it introduced me to the fact that I should avoid Uwe Boll, is that his name? Uwe Boll, yeah. Mm-hmm. All of his films. Because it was so bad, it left such a bad taste in my mouth. And it was just it was like worse than Ed Wood, worse than Ed Wood quality. It was like, I don't like it. My least favorite. That maybe, it's great to love it now for how bad it is, but Super Mario Brothers movie, like when it came out in '93, I love it now for how bad it is. It's like it's so bad it's good, like kind of thing. You guys seen it?
Yeah.
It's bad, huh? But imagine that. But I bet me and your dad probably saw it when we were kids, and it was so disappointing. You guys and Hallie, my daughter, any other youngsters in here, are gonna have probably like the greatest Super Mario Brothers movie. You guys get that for your childhood. We got the worst one. We were the trial. we were the trial run, our generation, for Super Mario Brothers movies and video game movies in general. I think they make them better these days for sure. And Sonic the Hedgehog. You know why? It's because the people making the movies today are the kids that grew up with them.
Yep.
It's like
people got the right hands in them now.
Yeah, now they know what to do. They understand the IP and they understand what it means to people. And when the Super Mario Brothers movie came out, and I've never shown this to you, Ben, so it's awful. It's like these people that made the movie with no idea of what Super Mario is. It's like they never played the game. And it was directed by a couple, a husband and wife duo, I think, who did the Max Headroom MTV videos. And it's very stylistic, and it's kind of cool to watch it now because it's like, okay, I see what they were doing. They were going for like a Blade Runner kind of vibe, but it doesn't work for Mario at all. So if you just can look at it like an oddity and like a product of its time, then you can kind of enjoy it, but it's terrible. It's so bad.
I actually went to the movies with my parents to see that.
Yeah.
When Yoshi appeared and got to that scene, I actually cried.
I know.
I literally cried.
It was so bad. It was like, what have you done to Yoshi and,
Yes.
and Princess Peach, or Princess Toadstool at the time? But yeah, I would show it if you have kids and they haven't seen it. I would show it, but definitely open up and explain to them. Now, this is not really what you're expecting. Any other questions? Right here. I'll get to yours next.
How many home videos do you still have that you haven't released on YouTube?
So, how many home movies do I have that I still haven't released on YouTube? I actually just got asked this earlier in the convention hall. I have probably a good 12 full-fledged, maybe more, episodes. So there'll be videos I put out where I'm on camera and I'm kind of telling you a story and using the old footage, but I really don't have footage of the story I'm telling. It's like Dad didn't record it. Then there's the videos where you do see everything. You see, and I usually don't appear on camera in those videos. It's mainly just me narrating over it and telling you the story. So I'd say of those videos where it's just all home movie footage and I tell the story, it's probably another 12 to 15 that I'm still going to produce. I haven't produced a new one in a while. I've been re-releasing a lot of the ones that first aired on first they aired on iRetroGamer, but then Pixel Game Squad kind of came in for a while when I was taking a break from YouTube. How many of you found the show through Pixel Game Squad? I'm curious. Right here, right over here. Okay, cool. Yeah, those are great guys too. I'll definitely check them out. So I'm re-releasing a lot of those episodes as extended cuts. You might have seen some of them recently. The Shenmue episode and Sega CD episode. There's a number of them, and I've got one coming out Monday that's an extended cut. Monday, it's a new extended cut episode of the Atari. It's labeled something different on Pixel Game Squad, but I decided to call it something different on the main channel now, the official channel. But it's the Radio Shack Atari 7800 haul of 1994. I don't know if you guys have seen that video. It is online on Pixel Game Squad, but it's a really fun, really good video with a lot of great old home movie footage of this incredible haul that Dad found at Radio Shack back in the early 90s. They were clearancing out their Atari games, and he ordered like all of them that they had in the catalog. They were probably $5 a pop, and it was this real cool moment where he surprised me. I came home from school, sort of thing. It's fun. You can look for that on Monday. Nice. And yeah, so there's a lot more stories to tell. I've saved one in particular. I keep thinking about it because I can't wait to actually dive into it. One of my favorite movies of all time is Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And I've got a very special episode that I'm going to do. I've literally not tackled it because I'm like, how do I do this justice? I love this movie so much. This is such a special memory for me. But it's of me and my cousins in 1990. We're in New York and we're trying our best to beat Roger Rabbit on NES. And my dad filmed the entire week's worth of, I mean, it's not an entire week's worth of footage, but over the course of like a weekend, I'd say, he filmed us playing the game and making our way through it and getting to the end of the game where you fight Judge Doom. And just the intensity and the craziness that we were going through, he captures it all in such great style and flair. And I can't wait to release that one. I can't wait to do that one. I've held on to the footage because I'm like, this is one of my most favorite memories. and I don't know how to do it justice. Like I don't know how to tell the story well. I don't want to like produce the episode and it not be like exactly the way I wanted it to be. So I've been waiting on that one, but that's a future one coming. Another future episode is old footage. It's the very first gaming footage my dad ever recorded. I wasn't even born yet, and it's of him and my mom playing video pinball on Atari 2600 in like 1984 or 3. And it's the oldest footage I have that has video games, involved in video games. And that'll be a lot of fun to do that one. And we also have an episode that'll be all about Resident Evil Remake on GameCube. That one's coming in the future. How we acquired that. I think it was one of my birthdays when I was a teenager. And yeah, just lots of new content coming down the pipeline. And then you had a question? Uh-huh.
Yes. I was going to follow up on that other gentleman's question. What would you say is your favorite video game movie?
My favorite video game movie? You know what? I think, honestly, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. That was so great, and it really just, okay, let me change that, because that's probably my favorite adaptation. My favorite video game movie that's about video games and centered around video games is probably either The Last Starfighter or The Wizard. I think, and then maybe right below that, Cloak and Dagger. Who's seen that one? Anybody in here seen that one? Wow. Okay, highly recommend Cloak and Dagger. It's, if you're really interested in like that early era of like Atari gaming and the Atari phenomenon, the movie is about this little boy who is a video gamer. 82 I think is when the movie came out, 81, and he's obsessed with Atari and obsessed with video games. And he goes to buy this new video game. This is like, he can't wait to buy it. It's the hottest game, and he buys it. It's so cool. You see the old retail shelf that he goes to, like in the mall. The whole film was shot in San Antonio as well. So you actually see the Riverwalk. There's a whole scene where he gets chased through the Riverwalk in San Antonio, and it's a really fun film. The game that he buys, Cloak and Dagger, it's kind of like war games in a way. It has a secret government code or something was put on the cartridge, and so he buys it, but he wasn't supposed to or something, and all these like secret agents come after him, and they're trying to get him and kidnap him with the game cartridge because he's got the secret code, and stop him from getting it to the wrong hands or something, or the right hands, I guess. But it's a really fun movie. I highly recommend it. Cloak and Dagger, definitely. If anything, just for if you're from Texas, who here is from Texas? Dallas area, yeah. It's so cool to see like San Antonio and the Riverwalk in the early 80s. It's really cool. They get chased through there by this couple. It's so funny. This couple who like is supposed to be their friend. So it's the boy and girl, they get lost or something, and he's got the game cartridge. And this couple, they meet on the boat in the Riverwalk. They hop on a boat because they're trying to avoid the bad guys. And there's this old couple, and they're like acting all friendly, but really they're actually undercover agents. And so they've like got them in their midst, and they get away from them. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Okay, any other questions? Oh, over here.
I have two actually.
Sure.
What do you think was your most favorite video game as a kid? And did you ever defeat Ghosts and Goblins for the second round?
Oh man. What was my favorite video game as a kid, and did I ever beat Ghosts and Goblins in the second round? You probably saw the episode with the Ghosts and Goblins and my cousin beating it. I never beat the second round, but my cousin did. He actually told me he did at one point. He challenged himself to do it. Because he was the king of games, as I always say on the channel, and as we always said in my family, Manny, the king of games. Anybody familiar with Manny?
Cousin Manny.
Cousin Manny and his stuff, yep.
Whip, nothing but the whip.
Yeah, oh my gosh, there's a deep
Stuck
cut
in my
right
head
there.
for months.
I'm going to tell him. Somebody at the panel said the whip, nothing but the whip. He will die. He will die. Oh my gosh. But yeah, in answer to your question, he did. And then my favorite video game of all time, I always go back to Mega Man 2. I always think Mega Man 2 is like that pivotal like heart game, if you really want to like call it that, like what are your heart games? I think Mega Man 2 is the one that really made me love video games. So I think, you like that one? Yeah, it's a great one. And so definitely got to always go with Mega Man 2. And then probably, honestly, like Shenmue's up there because of how much that meant to me and how it has some of my favorite games in it. When you go into the arcade and you can play like Space Harrier and Afterburner and stuff like that. Shenmue was such an incredible experience. So yeah, thank you for the question. Right over here.
So, Tyler, tell me or tell everybody else, what are some of your favorite Sega Channel memories?
Oh, Sega Channel. So George asked, what are my favorite Sega Channel memories? For those of you who don't know what that is, Sega Channel was like a modem. I guess it was like a modem.
That's sort of, I mean,
Yeah.
games on the
A cartridge on.
It was a cartridge modem. It plugged into the top of your Sega Genesis, and then from your phone line, it connected to like your cable service was what it was. It was like part of your cable service, and it would download games to this modem and let you play for a fee every month. Like early streaming, you know, it was like the
Game Pass.
Yeah, it was Game Pass before Game Pass ever was a thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sega was way ahead of the curve there, and so my favorite games to play on there. So every month, at the first day of the month, you'd wake up and you go check out Sega Channel, and they'd have like a new selection of games for you to play. And it was great service for anybody who really didn't want to have to buy retail every month. You know, you just subscribe to the Sega Channel and you get all these games every month. Way ahead of its time. But I was introduced to games that never got released in America through the Sega Channel, like Mega Man The Wily Wars and Golden Axe 3 and Pulse Man. Pulse Man was a great game made by Game Freak before they were known for Pokemon. And it came to the Sega Genesis. Those games never came out in America, but they were excellent. And so those are definitely the highlights for me on the Sega Channel, because after they left the Sega Channel, we kept waiting for them to come out in America, and they never did. And so they became this like fabled games. Like, it was before the internet really took off too. So it was like we have no way of really looking at these games again at all. Like they're gone. They're gone forever.
And even like the crazier things too, or like Garfield Caught in the Act, for
Oh, yeah.
example. Like it had exclusive levels that were only
Exclusive
on the Sega Channel that
levels.
they never preserved in any way.
It's
So
really
it
cool.
was Crazy.
For those of you who haven't really known much about that, I would definitely go look up videos on. There's a video on YouTube that somebody has of recording like when it was live. I actually saw that, like when it was real. It's like an old VHS recording that they got from their Genesis of it being. I think it's the only video that exists out there of it being live. And then there's an episode of my show that's on Pixel Game Squad. You can find it on the playlist on the main channel. But the Sega Interventions episode that I put out when we went to Disney World, and they had a big display of Sega games. Who's seen that episode? Over here, you guys seen that one? Okay. And there's a little moment in there where I'm playing the Sega Channel that they had hooked up. They had a Sega Channel display. It was at Epcot. Epcot had the Interventions. It was this cool gaming hall that featured all the latest and greatest Sega games. Sega had a big partnership with Disney back then, and it was really, really cool. We have 5 minutes, so probably just like time for one more question if anybody wants to ask right here.
I know you played Resident Evil Code Veronica Game Pass. I was kind of curious if you ever got a chance to see the latest gameplay trailer, Resident Evil 4 remake.
I haven't seen it. I saw some stills of the remake that's coming out, and that does look really good.
Oh.
From what the still images I saw look really good. And then a buddy that looked great. So, and he's my big Resident Evil friend who I always talk Resident Evil with. So if he says it's good, then it's probably gonna be really good. I'm also really excited about the remake of Silent Hill 2.
Yes.
Like that, I'm like, Konami, where have you been all these years?
Woke up.
I know, they finally, they really are putting their money where their mouth is, because they actually said, I know some press releases, they were like, we're trying to get back to our fan base, and we're trying to make it right, you know. And they have been slowly with those collections that they've been putting out. And so it's so good to see them put out a big title again like that. And then I guess there's a new game coming out too.
New game, new movie,
new movie.
Wow, so-
If only they could give us that treatment with like Castlevania.
Yeah.
And,
Baby steps.
but not a full-fledged game. Like, just give me another Metroidvania. I love the Metroidvanias. Or a Metal Gear Solid. You know,
Yeah.
just
I bet Metal Gear is next.
I bet it's next. Yeah. As far as they're like big sellers.
If they do, they gotta figure out a way how they can work with
With
Kojima
Hideo
again.
Kojima, yeah.
They can just work something out in the end.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you guys all for being here. Really, it means a lot to me for you all to be here. Thank you for watching the show. Thank you for leaving comments and just keeping up with everything. Lots and lots of new content coming in the future. Got so much planned and so much I'm excited to produce and show and share with you as the show continues. And yeah, just thank you for being part of it, and enjoy the rest of Retropalooza. And thank you for watching this. That really meant a lot to me.
Woo!